to the Tool Station Northern Counties East League podcast. I'm Richard Watts. I'm joined by League General Manager Matt Jones, who's going to give us an update from the league.
So what I've done this week, as we're nearing the halfway point of the season, I've had a look at some of the current statistics and who's on a good run and who's on a not so good run. So in the Premier Division, we've currently got Emley, 5 wins in a row in the league and 13 games unbeaten. Fantastic effort. And the other end of the spectrum to that, we've got Maltby Main, who went bottom at the weekend. They've lost 7 games in a row. And I'm sorry to mention this because it won't please Richard here, but Barton Town currently on a run of 7 games without a win. We've got Campion, who are averaging 3.1 goals scored per game. And we've mentioned Emley, who are on the fantastic run. They've only conceded 9 goals so far in 17 league games. In Division 1, we've got Parkgate averaging 3.28 goals per game, so that's the most goals scored in the Northern Counties East League. And also averaging over 3 goals per game are Wakefield AFC and Horbury. We just mentioned Wakefield. They've won 8 league games in a row. And Horbury, currently 12 games without defeat. Ollerton Town, little bit of a struggle so far for Ollerton Town this season. They're currently on the run, losing 13 games in a row. And last but not least, Swallownest, currently bottom of our Division 1, played 23 games this season, still looking for their first win, with managed 3 draws and 20 defeats. I'm sure, having seen them, it's not going to be long before that comes. I wish them all the best.
And on more general matters, could you talk us through promotion, relegation, feeder leagues and moving sideways, etc.?
In our Premier Division, it's a different format this year to the one we've seen for the last couple of years. The top team will be promoted, as per usual, to the Northern Premier League. But in the last 2 seasons, we've had inter-step playoffs, where our second place team, so our runners-up, have played away to a team from the league above, the Step 4 team, that's finished towards the bottom end of their league in a one-off winner-takes-all type playoff. Now, these were supposed to be regional games, but in both these years, the Northern Counties East League teams have ended up going on the longest journey in the country. We've been really unlucky with the way it worked out. In year 1, Eccleshill United from Bradford lost on penalties to Kempston Rovers, which was all the way down in Bedford, a 4-hour journey each way for them on the bus. Last season, journey was even longer. Winterton Rangers, who finished second in our league, were drawn to play at Coggeshall Town. And when that draw came out, with the greatest of respect to Coggeshall, I didn't have a Scooby-Doo where it was. I had to look it up. And it's actually down in Essex, about 5 miles away from Colchester. So Winterton faced a 350-mile round trip to play that. But it was worthwhile in the long run because they clinched promotion to the Northern Premier League, winning 2-1. This season, slightly different format. We've now got 2 guaranteed promotion places from our Premier Division up to the Northern Premier League. So the champions will go up automatically. Teams finishing places 2 to 5 will play off for that remaining automatic spot. In all likelihood, there's only going to be 1 team relegated from the Premier Division down to our Division 1 this year. In Division 1, the promotion format is exactly the same as this year's Premier Division. We've got top team promoted to our Premier Division and teams 2 to 5 playing off for that 1 remaining promotion spot. The bottom 3 may be liable to relegation. That won't be decided until the FA have determined how many teams have applied to come up from the feeder leagues, whether they've passed ground grades and that kind of thing. So it could be that we lose 1, 2, possibly 3, but we won't know until everything's finished at the end of the season. Teams from the regional feeder leagues need to apply for promotion. So anybody that wants to come into the Northern Counties needs to apply by the 31st of December this year. The application packs for that are currently available from their own leagues, or they can get one from me if they get in touch with me, and details of how to do that are on our website. Teams that apply then need to pass ground grading and need to finish as high as possible as they can in their current division. There are 51 feeder leagues across the country, feeding into 17 Step 6 leagues. Only 1 place per league is available for promotion, so ideally you will finish top of your feeder league, and to have a chance past ground grading, you'll be offered a promotion place. If the top team doesn't apply for promotion, you could finish second and get the place, and so on, down to about 4th or 5th. anybody finishing lower than 5th won't be considered for promotion, even if they've applied. We're looking also, teams close to our borders and the borders with other leagues are always potentially at risk of lateral moves at the end of the season. So across the country, there are 16 Step 5 leagues, 17 Step 6 leagues, each ideally having 20 teams. But it doesn't always work out due to the geography. And for example, this year we've got 20 and 23. There are other leagues running with 15s and 16s, which it's not quite the perfect balance that it should be. But to even it out, teams that are close to the borders can sometimes be moved by the FA into a different league. So teams in our West Yorkshire area are at risk of potentially going into the North West Counties League. Teams that we've got down Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire could potentially go into the United Counties. Again, that's determined by the FA at the end of the season. We've actually, as a league, spoken to the FA about this because it causes a degree of uncertainty for these teams. They don't know from one year to the next which league they're going to be playing in. It gives them difficulty in attracting sponsors and that kind of thing. But it is deemed as necessary to get the divisions as even as possible. And one thing we've asked, is there a better way of doing it? Is a lateral move an inevitable thing that we've got to do? Or is there a better way to do it? I'd be interested to hear people's views if anybody's got any ideas of how it could be done better.
Who are the main sort of feeder leagues in? You've obviously got the Humber Prem, isn't there? And then who are the sort of like main leagues?
We've got several that feed into us. There's the Humber Premier League, Lincolnshire League, West Yorkshire, Sheffield and Hallam County Senior League, and Central Midlands.
If you have a question for Matt Jones, please email ncelpodcast@gmail.com and we'll try and include that question in a future edition. Volunteers are essential to all clubs at this level, and on the podcast we hope to feature a number of volunteers in future episodes. If you're a volunteer who would like to come onto the podcast and talk about what you do in your club, then email ncelpodcast@gmail.com. This interview was recorded a couple of weeks ago. I'm joined by Sheridann Dickerson, who's a volunteer with Campion. Welcome to the podcast, Sheridann. Can you tell us about your non-league story?
Yes, of course. It began many years ago. I used to go and watch my dad play for Eastmoor, West Riding County Amateur. Eastmoor were a team in Wakefield. Sadly, they've folded now. Folded a few years ago. But yeah, from the ages of I'd say from when I was a baby. My granddad used to take me to watch him, and then pretty much every Saturday I was watching him until I then got involved when I was 15, 16. And then when I was 16, me and my dad took it over as joint managers. Eastmoor were in a bit of a ruck at that time. All us players left, so we had no money. We were left with no money. And we had to pretty much bring it back from the brink. It were either fold it or just try our best. So I like to think we did a good job. I mean, in us first season there, we got to a Challenge Cup semi-final where we lost to Wakefield City, who were a few leagues above us at the time. We lost, I think, we're 2-3-0, but we gave them a good go that day. We also got to League Cup semi-final, a respectable mid-table finish, for a Premier Division at Wakefield League. But both me and my dad, we didn't want to pack it in for sentimental reasons. My dad had played there for 25 years prior to that. He played there since he was 15, 16, early 80s. And he ended up being one of their longest serving players. And I always say this, I absolutely worship my dad. He was a good player, cracking player, was feisty, knew to get stuck in. And Eastmoor's still something I hold close to my heart. So in our second season, we unfortunately got relegated. Again, we lost a lot of players, and we were bringing back 50-year-olds to play for us who played for Eastmoor 10, 15, 20 years prior to that. So we were just we were getting people out of bus stops. We were getting people out of all people's homes to just get a team out there. It would, but like I say, it was just sentimental. We just wanted to keep it going. But I always had a vision, even then when I was 16, 17 with Eastmore. I wanted to take them back to where I thought they should be. I wanted to build something, and call me a dreamer, call me an idiot, but I did want to get him into something like West Yorkshire League or North East Counties. That was my vision at the time. But yeah, we had a couple of poor seasons, and then my dad then unfortunately resigned, and I did have the opportunity to stay. But we actually founded a second team as well before we left. We merged with another Wakefield team, or brought them in as a second team, and so that's it. My dad retired from football fully, and I moved on to Hall Green United, who were seen as a big rival to Eastmore. They always were big rivals to Eastmore. But I do have some regrets about leaving. But the reason me and my dad left, and it's unfortunate that there were a lot of poison around at that time, and I think that's case in most teams at that standard, most clubs. A lot of poison, a lot of people trying to get us out, and then try take it on their own. But yeah, like I say, I do have regrets of leaving Eastmore, because when I went to All Green, I had 2-3 years there, but I was never really seen as welcome. I was seen as a bit of an outsider, and then that's when. Well, obviously, we're going to get into my personal story a bit later, but I started mentally going downhill. I became really poorly, and I took a few years out of the game. And 12, 13 months ago, I got involved with Campion, North East Counties, who are absolutely flying. We've been flying for past 12 months, nearly a couple of seasons, and I'm not looking back. The best thing I've ever done, getting back in, and I like to think Campion saved my life, because I were in a really dark place. I were on the back of a serious breakdown before I got involved. And yeah, the lads, it's the best change room I've ever been involved in. The best organised club I've ever been involved in. Everyone there, we're such a close, tight knit group. All the lads, absolutely fantastic. Management, I mean, I think a lot of them, I really do. And like I say, it's an unbelievable feeling. I mean, so we're doing really well at the moment in Premier Division, North East Counties. And so if someone had have offered us the position we're in at the start of the season, I think we'd have snapped their hand off, to be fair. So,
yeah, I was going to say, as we speak at the moment, you're joint top of the table, aren't you?
Yeah. But I mean, we came up against Emily a few weeks ago, and I know we lost 5-0 away from home, but it wasn't a 5-0 game. I mean, I still think, and I don't want to contradict myself, but I still think Emily are a class above anyone else in that league. They really are. They're certainly the best team we've come up against. But there were a few decisions what went against us that day. Obviously, if anyone can say that about any loss they've had this season. But yeah, that were I'd say I'd say it were a bad day at office, but it definitely wasn't a 5-0 game. I think even Emily were flattered with that result. But they are a class above, and I would say at the moment they are favourites for promotion. But we're just going to keep pushing. Campion never say die, as we proved last week against Rossington, 2-0 down at half time, came back to win 3-2 with a last minute penalty. So,
and just going back to what's the Campion story? Because you're a relatively new club, really, aren't you, to the North Counties East League?
Well, so I won't say relatively new. I mean, I'm just going on the history. I've only been there 12 months, but I think they joined the North East Counties in about 2017, 2018. They had a season in it, or maybe 2 seasons. I might be wrong. And then they were moved across to the Northwest Counties, and I believe they struggled a bit in Northwest Counties. So then back in the North East Counties, it was their first season back last season. and we won Division 1 by an absolute stretch. So,
and I mean, certainly one player that was very impressed with is your striker Day. I don't think there's not many better in the league than him, I would have thought.
well, we're certainly lucky to have Marcus. What a player, but more importantly, what a person. What a man. He certainly made me feel welcome. I do think we've got the best striker in the league in Marcus Day. I'm very surprised that there haven't been teams from league above come in for him, because he's absolutely different class in all forms of his game. But best striker I've ever seen at this level. Unbelievable.
What roles do you do at Campion?
Yeah, so I'm a committee member, but I'm also the commercial and media manager. So how it came across, again, like I say, I were a bit poorly last year, but I decided to take myself out of the house, and I went to watch Horbury Town against Campion in I think it was September last year. And I lived in Albury for a lot of years, so I actually went and thought, well, come on, Albury, Albury again, a club what have come so far, and credit to Darren Barnes and everyone at that club. So I thought, I went there supporting Albury that day, and then Campion absolutely battered them 7-0, and I thought, wow, what a team these are. So I started looking into him on Twitter, Facebook, websites. And I thought, well, they don't seem to have much going on a media sort of level. So I went to watch 2 or 3 games at Campion, Scotchman Road, Bradford. And then I plucked up the courage to ask James Bittnell, who's their manager, are there any roles at the club? Is there any chance I can get involved? And he said, well, we definitely need someone to sort our media out, and maybe, get some sponsorship in, or do a bit around the club. I do like to think I do a bit of everything around the club, like Andrew Shepherd, who's been there nearly 45 years, I believe, at Campion now. Me and him will link it up on match day. We'll get all the dog's body stuff sorted, and then I'll just take over social media. I do my best with that, graphic design, everything on that level. I try my absolute best with it. And yeah, I like to think I've transformed it on that level, because I think we've gained something like 2,500 followers since I took it over. So,
what would you say to somebody who's thinking of volunteering at the local North Counties East League club?
It's brilliant. It gets you involved in a great atmosphere, at a great level as well. I mean, non-league football, I think it's the best it's ever been, and the North East Counties are seriously making a name for themselves at the moment. A massive league, like I say, best it's ever been. And volunteers, they're the heartbeat of the club. They're what they're what keep the club running on a continuous basis. So yeah, absolute massive respect to everyone who gives up their Saturdays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, even other days. Some people do stuff for clubs 7 days a week. People at our club, like, I'll go back to Andy Shepherd, James Bicknell, they're always doing stuff for the club, and it's I've got massive respect for him, and anybody who volunteers for any club in the North East Counties and non-league.
You mentioned earlier you've got quite a backstory. Would you like to go through that story now?
Okay. Yes, so as I discussed earlier, before I got involved with Campion, I was coming off the back of a bit of a breakdown. But a few years before that, especially when I was involved at Hall Green, but I'm not blaming Hall Green for this in any way. But I started suffering with mental health. I became really poorly. Basically drinking myself to death on a daily basis. But then obviously I quit football, quit my voluntary duties, took some time out of the game. And I did have my own business where I had a sports events company where I used to put on meet and greets with ex-footballers, ex-boxers, celebrities. And for a time that went well. But again, throughout that period, I was struggling, and I got involved with the wrong crowd when I had my company. That wrong crowd, unfortunately, led to me having to wind that company up, and Yes, I had to deal with a lot of stuff after that. I had to deal with death threats. Oh God, people threatening my fiance, my family. It were an horrendous time, horrendous period of my life. But I would literally drinking myself to death on a daily basis because I didn't want to be here. I ballooned up to 19, 20 stone, and I'm only 5'9", 5'10", and I were I were rushed to A&E one night by my fiance because I were having serious chest pains. I thought I were having an heart attack. And it turned out I were having a serious, severe panic attack. But the doctor said to me there, look, you really need to start looking after yourself. Or you need to stop drinking. You need to get a balanced diet, introduce a bit of exercise into your life. And I was like, look, I don't care. So if you told me I had 24 hours to live now, you'd be my best friend. I really didn't want to be here. Like I d apart from my fiance or my mum, or my dad, only a small a small circle in a family. I didn't have nobody. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any social life. I was scared of leaving the house. I didn't do anything. But honestly, I were considering suicide every day. I attempted to take my own life when I was 18 anyway. But literally, my fiance had come in and just find me sat on the sofa with a knife at my wrist, and I'm like, look, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know what to do. But then I suppose there were always something missing from my life. Like I say, I was so big, I was so unhealthy. I mean, I definitely don't look my age. I'm only 28. I'm 29 in May. But back then, this is 4 or 5 years ago. I looked 50. I looked, I looked awful, and so then lockdown happened, and then obviously both me and my fiance were off work, uh, out of work, and then we said, then she said, look, we need to use this time to our advantage, get you sorted. So she downloaded the Couch to 5K running app, and we went to this park in Bradford, and I put this hoodie on, the sweatpants, and it didn't fit me. And the first part of Couch to 5K, I think, is run for 30 seconds, rest for a minute. After that 30 seconds, I threw up. I was that unfit. But then there were this little voice in my head what said, look, that's good. That's good. It's a no pain, no gain thing. Keep going. You're doing more now than you have done in the last 4 years. So even when we got home, big sweat rings throughout this grey jumper, this grey hoodie that I was wearing. I said, well, let's go and do it again tomorrow. And then I got involved with this charity called Get Fit for Mental Wellness in Halifax, West Yorkshire. And they introduced me to this 8-week rehabilitation program, which included counselling sessions, psychotherapy, personal training, and nutrition. And every day I was running, and when I eventually reached 5K, I was then running 5K every day, and then I started getting to 10K, and then I signed up for a half marathon or to run on behalf of Get Fit for Mental Wellness, and so I completed that or 2.5 hours, and I just I do want to dedicate my life to helping people now that that are struggling out there, because there are millions of people, even in other clubs, northeast counties, or this small circle, there are people that are struggling. But if I can do it, anybody can do it, and I seriously believe that, because when I lost my business, this is something that nearly tipped me over the edge. I had a phone call from someone who my dad played football with for years. I'm not going to mention their name, but someone who obviously I thought were a friend as well. And he were basically laughing at me for what had happened. And then he said, well, apparently you suffer from mental health and all this, you say you do. But I tell you what, if you put a rope around your neck now, nobody would miss you. Nobody would miss you. So that night, that's when I sat down and I literally wrote a suicide note on my computer, and my fiance found it. She found it, and then she's like, "Look, I think we need to talk." What's this? And then I'd say that probably stopped me. So everything happens for a reason. But what changed my life and saved my life were exercise, just getting myself out of the house or getting into a routine. I mean, over the last 12 months, I've found out I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which again, it yes, it can be hard at times. I mean, last few weeks I've definitely had some ups and downs, but yeah, it's manageable. And even today, I've got myself into boxing. I go boxing 3 times a week. I keep myself busy with stuff I do for camping. I look forward to a match day. I look forward to getting together with the lads. We always they always organise group sessions and get themselves out. But I've stopped drinking. I'm nearly 8 months sober now. And yeah, I just like to think if I can do it, anybody can do it. And if anybody's struggling out there, just seek help, speak to a friend, speak to a family member, go to a doctor, because that just might save your life.
Next up, NCEL Talk. I'll hand straight over to host Aaron Walton.
So tonight we're joined by Si again from Wakefield, and we're joined by Sheridann from Campion. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at the Premiership first, NCEL, and then we're going to move on to what's shaping up to be very, very interesting in the Division 1 table. So if we look, basically, if we start with the Prem, with Campion and Emley, Campion, were they at home to Frickley?
At home to Frickley again. Frickley, very tough opposition. We played Frickley on opening day, and again, opening day we beat them 3-0 at their place, but it wasn't a 3-0 game. They gave us a cracking game at their place, and I wasn't there on Saturday, but from what I've seen on the VO footage, first half it were very even Stevens, and second half our Campion just blew them away. So
really, yeah. So you had your marksman then, Marcus Day, who was on fire, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but we'll come on to that later. So that's 6-2. So a game of 2 halves by the sounds of it. A scorching second half, and Campion live on. So is it 21 games, 44 points?
Yeah, and so like I've said, if someone had have offered us this at the start of the season, we'd have absolutely snapped their hand off. I mean, I'm still going to say that Emley are the favourites, looking at the table, 3 games in hand, and only a point behind, I think. So
I think so. Yeah, I think they're on. I can't remember if they played in midweek, but yeah. But as I say, it does. To me, it's not such a shock as everybody thinks with Campion, because teams who've come up in the past. I was just racking my brains. Well, what little bit of grey matter I've got left. I was going through the teams that have come up from Div 1 and done well and gone up again. You know, Ferraby's, your Grimsby Boroughs, your Wintertons. I know Winterton took a little bit longer, but they still went up. So, you know, your Yorkshire Amateurs when they were flying high. So it's not so much as a surprise as people think. But, you know, when you go up a league, there's always that, how are we going to do? Are the players going to cope? You know, week in, week out, what the team's like. We've never seen them before. So, like you say, Sheridann, I mean, you've got to be happy at the top. There's no other way about it. And you're there to be shot at. So, but as I say,
100%. Sorry, mate. I mean, at the start of the season, our aim was to win the league. Our aim was to do it all again. at the moment, things are looking good. Emily are looking good. They've, I think they're on a 14-15 game unbeaten run. We're on a 10-game unbeaten run. The last time we lost was to Emily. But I think we play Emily on the 10th of February. So that should be a cracking game.
Should be indeed, because I think the only thing Emily have got apart from games in hand, but as I say, games need to be won. I mean, Barton know all about that. We're lots of games behind. We was last season, but we ended up drawing them and losing them because there's just too many to play week in, week out. But I think at the moment it does look like Campion and Emily are the two teams to watch. And as I say, Emily, how did they do on? They did a consummate job over Maltby, didn't they? They won them 5-0. So you can't do any more than that. A tough place to go.
And Emily played Thackley midweek. Again, I've heard it were very close. But
yes.
So Emily are just having that bit of luck. They're scoring late goals. They're scoring 96th minute, 82nd minute.
Yes, they are.
They're winning games by that odd goal, and that's what champions do. That's what we were doing last year. So
yeah, it's just that little bit of luck you need. I mean, I know the Emily fans they'll agree with me when they played Bottisford at Bottisford, they won in stoppage time, and the Emily fans, they know the football and they're on it. They said a draw would have been probably a fairer result, but like you say, Sheridan, when you're playing well, that's what happens. You get that little bit of luck. Sometimes it's not luck because you keep pushing forward, you keep attacking, you don't give up, and you get that goal. So, as I say, Emily seems to be, like yourselves, on fire.
Yeah.
So, if we look further down the table, we've got Albion. Now, they're doing quite well still, aren't they? They tend to sometimes, I don't know, they tend to drop off a little bit, but they're going well at the moment. So, they're doing all right. And let's have a look. Stilsden, though, they kept the pressure on, didn't they, with a solid 2-1 win against Albion. So, as I say, Thackley is sort of still there, didn't it? And did you say they lost a midweek to?
Yes, but Thackley have been on a pretty decent run as well. I mean, if they we drew 1 apiece with them a couple of weeks ago. Again, no disrespect to Thackley at all, but I would say that were points dropped for us. We, I mean, Marcus Day scored again for us that day. It was a very fine finish. We were peppering their goalkeeper all game. He's
a good keeper, isn't he, though, Luke Wilson? He's a good keeper.
Cracking keeper.
He'll have enjoyed that. He loves being busy, does Luke. He's a real good keeper. Not the tallest of keepers, but he's certainly one of the best keepers in the league, I think.
100%. And that game, they had one chance and scored through their substitute, Marcus Edwards. It went on the pitch about 10 seconds before he scored. So
wow,
just one of them games. But
yeah, I should say the manager's saying what a good change that was.
Yes, definitely.
So then we've got a little bit further down. We've got Garforth. Now Garforth are always there or thereabouts. They're a consistent team, and they won 2-0 on Saturday, didn't they? Charlie Marshall getting on the score sheet. I think it was a penalty, but Charlie's back on the scene, so they're always a difficult outfit to beat. We've got the Barton Town. Sorry, I've got them on Saturday if it goes ahead, so that'll be a tough game for Barton. So we've got Garforth there, and as we've just gone over Stilsden, Frickley. Now, although they lost to you guys, which is no mean feat, they're up there, aren't they? I mean, last season they were struggling a little bit, but this season they seem to be playing a lot better, aren't they?
100%. Yeah. And I think if you look at the playoff race, it's still anybody's. Anybody can finish in that playoff.
Exactly. I was chatting to Craig Denton, Hallam's manager, and he says it's the most weirdest league he's seen for a long while because anybody can beat anybody on any given day. So you can't, you're not going to bet your mortgage on anybody nailed on to win. So, and I think sometimes it's at this standard. I think Style back me up on this. On this standard, it's who you've got available or who's not injured. So the team, I think sometimes the most successful teams are the teams that don't have a lot of injuries or can keep a settled team.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like with your back four or something like that as well. It's consistency is key, isn't it, in this league?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely consistency and just keeping those players. And a manager's got a very difficult job because you want a big squad, but then if you've got a big squad, players are missing out, and at this level they want to be playing, so they either want to fight for the place or go and sulk and go somewhere else. A lot of them don't tend to want to fight for the place. They seem to just, I'll go to another club rather than fight for the place. However, on the flip side of that, football is a face-fitting game as well, isn't it? You know, managers like specific players, etc., etc. And sometimes lads' faces don't fit. And as fans, we like those players, but if the manager's not keen on them, they don't get a chance, do they?
Yeah, that happens. I mean, you've seen managers go to another club and then it takes players from the club he used to be at. You know, you've seen it a few times, and that's the thing. I mean, if a manager's used to a certain style of play with certain players, I suppose you can't go wrong if they've had success with him in the past. So,
well, yeah, I mean, Barton was we were doing the commentary. Me and Richard Watts were doing the commentary at Tadcaster on Tuesday. And Mick O'Connell, the manager there at Tadcaster, and he was had 2 good seasons at Harrogate Railway. And I noticed he's got quite a few of the old Harrogate lads there, Ibrahimi for one, and I know the keeper Joe Wilton for 2, and there's 2 or 3 others that play for him. So he obviously has these lads who he depends on. So, but they looked a good. Tadcaster looked a good team, and a bit like Barton. The build-up play was good. It's just that last ball. It was either too short or just given away. But it was a good game. 2 teams who wanted to play football, trying to keep it down. So that was good. But yeah,
I think with Tadcaster, Mick's a good manager. Mick knows what he's doing.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
He's got a vision, we had a bit of rivalry with Harrogate last year. Obviously, towards the end, we were both competing for the title. But at Tadcaster, I think it's a rebuilding job for him. Obviously, they're in a transitional period. With players like Junaid Cassius-Gill and Luke Stewart up front, they're not far away. They're not far away.
No, they're not. And let's hope that the board at Tadcaster stick with Mick, because I think if you give Mick a bit of time, they're going to reap the rewards and the benefits, because he's a good manager and he's a really nice guy as well. So if we go on, just quickly round up, because we want to get on to Div 1. Penistone beat Golka 2-1, so Penistone is sort of there or thereabouts. Pickering drew. They've got a valuable point against Knaresborough. That's a good point for Pickering. And a team that often goes under the radar, gents, and you probably back me up there, Handsworth. They put 6 past poor old goal, but Handsworth seem to be doing quite well. As I say, they generally go under the radar, but they're doing well, aren't they, this season?
Yes, we played Handsworth a couple of months ago at their place, and again, great facilities there. And I would say, other than Emily, Handsworth were the best team we've played. They played some great stuff, pushed us all the way. It were a couple of late goals from ourselves that won the game. And fair play to him.
Yeah, they are a good team. The only thing I find with Handsworth over the years, they're a little bit hot and cold. They'll play 1 week, they'll win 5 or 6-0, and then the next week they'll lose 2 or 3-0. So just that consistency. I think they've started to get that consistency now and starting to play some. They've always played good football, but like I say, it's just consistency. I was just going to go on to Barton's game on Saturday because I was there. Rossington came over and just rolled us over, really. Played really well and deserved the 3-1 victory. Could have been many more. Ryan Musselwhite pulled off 2 or 3 quality saves to keep the score down. And I think it's Manny Kianga there, number 9. He missed a couple of sitters, I'm afraid. So it could have been a lot more. For what it's worth, Barton huffed and puffed, lots of commitment, fell short, kept trying and got that Will Wardby goal near the end, so 3-1. But then moving on to Tuesday night, completely different from Barton. I think Danny North needed a change from them, and they certainly put that in and got a very, very good 3-1 victory. So I think that sort of nearly wraps it up. But we always like to pull out a good performance or a performance of the week. For me, I don't know what you guys think, but for my own personal performance of the weekend was Bottisford away at Eccleshill. It's always a tough place to get a result at the northern tip of Bradford, isn't it? So coming away with a 2-1 win, superb. And I think Bottisford will start to climb away from that bottom of the table. What do you think, guys?
Yep, no arguments there. Fingers crossed they can pull away from it. So fair play.
Yeah, I hope so. Obviously, Gould, as we've said, I think I said last week, I didn't think Paddy Kenny would be there much longer, and he's gone. So they'll be looking for somebody new. Shame, because Gould's a good club. Got some very, very, very vociferous and vocal fans. It always makes for a good atmosphere when you go to Gould. So if we can go on to Division 1 then, Si, top of the table, Wakefield then. You left it late on Saturday, didn't you?
Yeah, well, the whole game was left late with that one. Yeah, it's we got an early goal. I didn't actually. I missed the game myself. I wasn't well, so it's one of the first ones. I've only missed, I think, one other league game this season. But yeah, scored early. Both sides holding each other quite well because both played very similar styles of football.
Yeah.
Got a goal to go 2-0 up, which we thought was like the cherry on the icing on the cake goal. That was wasn't going to be needed, but proved vital because they struck right back just before the final whistle. But yeah, a tight game at 2-1. And then Tuesday, a big tie really with Shirebrook because Wakefield and Shirebrook probably two teams that people are looking at going to be at least in the title hunt or the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
Very evenly matched sides. Very tight game was that one.
2-2, wasn't it?
Yeah, they took the lead twice. Wakefield fought back. Saw an interview on their media. Their manager thinks that they thought that they edged it slightly. I'd say it was pretty even. I think 2-2 was a fair result personally, but I'm also going to be a bit biased with that.
Well, no, not really. I mean, you follow your team, as simple as that. But what do you think to Shirebrook? I know, obviously, you know a lot about Wakefield because you're there every week virtually. But what do you think to Shirebrook?
There were both teams kind of cancelled each other out. I think they were tactically astute. You could tell that they were organised really well. Neither side, I think, let the other team play their type of football. I think both ourselves and Shirebrook against other teams in the division will play differently. And I think they both kind of cancelled each other out a bit, really. And it was a very tight game. Yeah.
So at least we're up to 50 points. So you're onto the half century already.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's 10 unbeaten now at the moment.
Yeah. Wow. That's some record. Who's your standout players then at Wakefield at the moment? Who would you say is your standout players?
We have two or three, really. Ones where we hold like a player of the match vote between the fans after each game. There's the players that tend to be up there. We've got a centre back, Jack Durkin, that's signed this season.
Yeah. Now, where did Jack Durkin come from? That name sounds familiar.
I know he played. It was two steps above, I think, that he came from. Can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, he's a good player though, isn't he, Jack?
Very, very solid. Yeah, I thought he said he wasn't really a centre back before this season, but he's slotted in really well there. The two players probably in the attacking midfield roles that stand out are Jayden Sandu and Oliver Rodriguez-Green. Both scoring goals lately.
Yeah. Now, Jayden Sandu, I'm sure he played for Albion in years ago.
Emily as well. I think he was at Emily, wasn't he?
Emily as well. Yeah, I know he's a decent player. And
Jayden used to be at Barnsley as well. He used to he was at Barnsley Academy because I know Jayden from my time at All Green. So,
right. So he gets about. So he's got a lot of games under his belt, hasn't he? He's a good player. What's the other guy you mentioned, Si?
Oliver Rodriguez-Green, young winger that we've got.
Is he a local lad or is he?
Yeah, I think he's sort of. I think he's certainly local for when he's here. I think he's got family in Spain as well, which is where the Rodriguez part comes from.
Right. Okay.
But he's starting to become a bit of a fan favourite. But we've
Yeah.
got a really good settled squad at the moment.
Yeah. Who's
That
your
works really well.
keeper? Who's your keeper?
Either Henry Kendrick or George Bristol seem to be rotating at the moment. We've got
Right.
Callum Gladding in the squad as well.
All right. So you're all right for keeper.
The manager seems to rotate the keepers rather than having just a standout number one.
Yeah.
The back four's pretty settled, but certainly in terms of keeper, he rotates it.
Right.
We've got. I don't think there's any. Although I highlighted those ones because they've sort of had the man of the match awards lately.
Yeah.
We don't have like one standout player.
No, so it's like a team effort every week.
Yeah, look at the goal scoring. We don't have one player who's the out and out goal scorer.
I noticed that. I was looking at the stats. Yeah, I was looking at the stats. They seem to share the goals about a bit, don't they?
Very much so. I think that's because the style of play football that we use, which is very sort of looking for a player in space.
Yeah, which at this standard's really good side because you're not relying on one player. I mean, a lot of clubs rely on one player. I know us at Barton Town rely on Tom Warby. If Tom Warby's not there, we don't seem to score. So it's been like that for a while. So, it's good that you can share the goals about. So if we go on from Wakefield, Parkgate, they're still looking strong, aren't they?
Yeah, that's one of the matches of the weekend that I'm noted with their game with Horbury. Another sort of top of the table clash. Both teams have been in good form lately, and Horbury were on the cusp of making it another week because I think they've had a really long run of wins. They're still unbeaten, but 90th minute own goal.
Oh, I bet he was popular in the changing rooms at full time.
Unfortunately. So Parkgate snatched a point right at the death with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, you're looking at the table. They've got 4 games in hand on Wakefield, so mathematically they can go in front, but they've still got to play Wakefield twice.
They've got to play him though, side. They've got to play him, and it's all ifs and buts, isn't it?
But I think both those two teams are going to be in the mix come the end of the season.
So after that, we have Shirebrook have gone up from midweek, haven't they? They've gone up to 3rd, 22 games, 43 points. So they're on the same games as yourselves, Wakefield. Then we have Wombwell. They dropped down a place, didn't they?
They've stuttered a little bit in the last couple of games, haven't they?
I think all teams will go through that. It's just when they'll go through. And then we've got Retford United. They've started to poke their head up again after a little bit of a wobble. They're on 20 games, 41 points. But the one I've been to see him quite a few times this season when Barton haven't played, and that's Beverley in 6th. 18 games, 40 points. Now, it's going to be, I think these next 2 games for Beverley, I think it'll shape their season because they've got you guys, haven't they? Wakefield.
Yeah, that's on Saturday. And as I said in last week's show, they've already done us twice this season. But at that time, I think our team was still kind of taking shape for this season. We'd had a fair bit of movement in the squad. Hopefully, we're a bit more settled now, and fingers crossed we can cope with it better. But yeah, they're a good team, and it's like yourself. It's a ground that I always like going to. It's got a good set of fans there and what have you, and good food there as well.
It is, but a little bit of news off the press. The food van is moving on to Pastures New. After Tuesday night, the food van is going somewhere else. I think they've obviously done what they can and they're moving. So I think Beverley are looking for another outlet. But it is good, I must admit there, and it's a good atmosphere at Beverley, I've got to say. But they play yourselves on Saturday. And then they've got a really mouth-watering tie Tuesday night if people can get down. They're playing Parkgate at Norwood. So that'll be a really good game, that one. I'm looking forward to that.
That's a 6-pointer, isn't it?
It's massive, even at this time of the season. I think that's it. So that's me sort of shaped up for that one. But it's looking very, very good in Div 1, really tight. And I think all 6 teams we've mentioned, if there was to say, right, the season's finished. You're all going up. You're going into the Prem. I don't think any team would struggle in the Prem. I think they'd all do really well, and I think they'll be up towards the top as well because, as I say, there's not many weak teams there. Good squads, so I don't think any of those teams would struggle in the Prem. So I think that's a good one. So if we look at, I want to get back to because I know Sheridann. What's happened with Mr. Day?
Well, over the weekend, obviously, it caused a lot of split opinions on social media, and with things like this, social media can be a cruel place. I'm not going to lie. Marcus's reasons for moving are personal. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to say.
No, you're not. No, we don't expect you to.
But one thing with Marcus is an absolutely top lad. He's not got an ego. Last season when he were banging goals in left, right, and centre, he had offers from Northern Premier, and he were turning them down. He's been loyal for a long time to Campion. But is an absolutely top lad. Shire Brooktown have been class in their approach. The way it's been handled brilliantly. But as I said, Marcus is a top lad, and we wish him nothing but the best. And you can't fault Shirebrook for their ambition.
No, you can't. And good luck to Marcus. And my little adage for social media is: if you can't put anything positive on, don't put anything on at all, because it's not very nice when people say horrible things. It's horrible. It really is nasty. So if you can't say anything positive, don't bother saying anything at all. So, so there we go. What I do want to talk about with you guys is attendances. Just quickly go over attendances. In the Prem, there's only 5 clubs out of the 20 who were down on last year. So that's just so you've got your teams like Hallam, Emley, Golker, and Penistone leading the way on some superb attendances. Silsden and Answorth are doing really well. They must be doing something right because they're 48 and 30% up. Respectively, and Albion are up by 60%. I know they don't get many at Albion, but I think the change of ground has possibly helped them somewhat. But what do you think? What are your ideas on getting the local population to come down and support NCEL football? Have you got any thoughts?
I was just about to say, but coming from a Campion, from someone involved with Campion, I'm probably the wrong person to ask about attendances, but sorry,
we work hard, don't we? We work hard as volunteers to try and push the clubs and try and get them, in the local press and also on social media, etc., and try all these deals and what have you. But people just, I don't know, we just seem to get a hardcore of fans who will come and just, I don't know what it is, whether they just want to sit and watch football on the TV. I mean, the thing is, if you come down and watch this, I mean, it's a good standard of football. If anybody says, oh, it's pub football, it's rubbish, well, you've not been. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, obviously, you will get the odd poor game, but you get the odd poor game in the Premiership. But I think it's a really good product, and I think if we could just get more people to come down, it's a bit like a drug. You get into it and that's it. I mean, you guys are the same as me. That's it. We're addicted, and I think that for people, if we could get them interested, they will become addicted and possibly some of them take on volunteering roles and so on and so forth. But I don't know how we can sort of sell the product more to people, to local people. I know it's probably.
One thing I think's been working in the Premiership has been Friday night football this year.
You like? Right, yeah. You think that works, Sheridann?
We played Albion Sports on a Friday night, or last month. Myself, James Bicknell, who's the joint manager, and Andrew Shepherd, who's the treasurer. We came up with this idea about a hospitality package. We thought, right, let's try and just if you get our attendance up a bit this year. And so I think we ended up with 327 there on a Friday night at
That's fantastic. That's not to be sniffed at. Anything in three figures. But I think for me the blue ribbon is over 300. If you can get over 300, that's fantastic. So well done, Campion, for that idea. How is James Bicknell? He's been at the club a long while at Campion, isn't he?
He is, yes. I do keep updating his statistics, and at the moment is on 427 games involved with Campion since West Riding County amateur days. So yeah, he's
I know he's been there a long while as James, and he never alters. He always looks the same.
He'll never change, but yeah, he's a top bloke.
He is. Well done, James, and keep going. So, have you, Si? I mean, you're doing good things at Wakefield. So, I know you're actually playing at the rugby ground, aren't you? So that helps a bit, I suppose.
It does. I think going back to what you were saying there, though, I think it's getting people through the doors, and it's social media is such a big thing now. So having a presence on there really helps. And I suppose really, if you look in terms of growth, we've gone from the early days in the Sheffield and Hallamshire when we had like 10 fans at a game. When I first started, it was like a very empty stand at the Dorothy Hyman Stadium for the first few games, and it's just been getting that word of mouth out, getting people to go. But we've got a very different scenario to a lot of other clubs in the whole of the NCL, because we've got a big city to aim at. And and this has been tried before and hasn't worked, and hopefully now it's actually got some traction in the right way to show it's not just a rugby town.
No, definitely not.
And getting that word of mouth out there. But there's always more that can be done. Yeah, the numbers are great this season, but you can always think, we can get more people down. We always, amongst the fans, we just say, bring a friend each time. Tell someone at work, bring them down. And like you say, people get hooked. Once they've been to one game, I've had people who've come to one game and then they bought a season ticket.
Wow.
They're like, I want to do this again. They realise, like you say, that it's not pub football, it's not kick and rush. It's proper quality football at an affordable level. You look at the Premiership, you look at pro football, the way it's going, and pricing fans out of the game. And here is the perfect way to get a family day out at football.
Yeah. So what we all agree on is get yourselves down to your local team, support your local team, put some money back in there. The money goes straight back into the club. It don't go filtering out everywhere else. It goes straight back into the club. The club's infrastructure's getting cemented by that, and you'll see some good football. So if we can leave it on that, gentlemen, and we'll all reconvene next week, hopefully with smiles on our faces, because our teams have won. If not, well, we'll still talk about it. So it's goodbye from us all. Thank you very much.
That's it for this edition. If you've got any news for the podcast or you'd like to appear on the podcast, please email ncelpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.